To start with, I'll go ahead with the Xray plugin. So we introduce a support of Xray plugin for ConnectALL. So you can now go ahead and synchronize test management from Xray to any other test management tool or any other tool. So Xray is a native plugin for Jira adapter, and it is mostly for the test management solutions. So Xray are installed on top of Jira application, and it's been used to handle all the quality assurance development efforts go into this particular tool. This is actually a requirement that we got, and it's more of integrating test management solutions between Xray and Tosca, which can be extended to Xray and any other test management applications. So the entities that we support on Xray is the test sets, test plan, test execution, test run. These are all a sequence, basically, it's all hierarchy. So Xray can handle test, which comes under the test set and test. And then there's an execution pattern that is marked as test plan, test execution, and test run. So the way we have implemented the support of Xray is like it is built on top of our Jira adapter. And to call out, we are only supporting Xray on-prem. There is also an Xray cloud version, but as on today, our requirement is only to support the Xray on-prem, and we support this on top of on our Jira adapter. So I can just quickly give you a hierarchical structure how Xray behaves, like, because Xray may be new to people. So there'll be something called requirement in Jira, and the requirement will have basically all the features and stories that's needed for a team to validate. Requirement is a common functionality of Jira. Once you have Xray installed on Jira application, then you will see something called test sets test. So test set is actually to organize all the test in a group. It's basically the integration suite, the smoke test suite, or the regression suite, right? That's a test set. And test is where these tests are basically written for those requirements. And then you have a section for test plans. Test plan is where it is tested against a particular release. Under test plan, you'll have test execution. Test execution where the tests are actually run and it captures the results. And test run is where we store all the outputs of these tests, right? Whether it's pass, fail, those execution results gets stored in there. So on ConnectALL, as I said, what we support is like Xray on-prem. And once Xray is installed on a Jira application, you will see a tab called Xray in the Jira application. And then you will have various entities that it supports, like whatever I called out, like the test sets, test plan, test execution. These are all going to be the same synchronization pattern that we use. Only difference we have here is like when you have to integrate a test run doesn't have the last modified timestamp. So there's an API limitation we have for test run. So if you want to use test run in your automation, there are certain configurations that we have to do. One is like you have to have a query built on Jira for which application you're doing the test execution, and you will have to save this into a filter. And this filter name is something that you will have to give into a filter ID field. So we have introduced a field. Whenever test run is selected as an entity, a new field will be introduced, and we'll have to give that a filter name. So these are all the configurations that we'll have to do. The rest all hierarchy, it works with issue linking if you're doing ALM or Octane. It works with the parent-child relationship if you're doing Tosca, because Tosca needs a parent field. Anybody who uses Tosca adapter will know that we'll have a parent field given in there. So you can establish these type of relationship between test sets, test plan, test execution, and test run. This is the hierarchy structure on the application. And this is how it is being grouped up. I've just given here. If people are new to Xray, you can probably go over this to know about the metadatas in Xray. Now, the way we have solved this is like, as I said, the integration pattern that we have brought out is for Xray and Tosca integration. We'll have multiple automations that is being created between test sets, test case folder, test Tosca's test case, Jira Xray's test plan to Tosca's execution list, test execution of Xray to execution list of Tosca, and the test run of Xray to Tosca. I can quickly show you how this behaves on an application. I'll pull up my application, and we are not doing automatic sync in here because of the limitation that we have on our Tosca environment. If I have to, I'll show you a synchronized pattern in this. So let me start with the first automation. So as we said, we'll sequenced in the automations here, so it's easy to understand. We have an automation that is created between the top parent layer, the test step and test folder. When you have to do the mapping on the field mapping, as I said, for Tosca, we need the parent field to be given, and this parent field will need a unique ID. So let me open up Tosca and see where we'll have to pick this value. This is my Tosca application. Let me go into my So if I show it on the image, so we'll have a unique ID for the top layer called test cases. This unique ID, you'll have to pick it up from Tosca, and that's the ID that we have to pass it over here. So these are all the Tosca's definition when we have to do it. And once you create all automations, we can go ahead and create all automations. And once you have all the automations created, probably the way it works is like I already have some synchronized data in here. So this is a test set that's been created. A Jira test set is created. Let me show in Tosca how this comes up. Tosca is a little slower. And again, it's instance, it's not a web application. That's a reason why I was not able to show a direct demo. Let me just connect to that instance. Yeah. So if you see in Tosca, we have something called test cases and execution. This is the test case I was talking about. This is actually Tosca's root folder. So if I have to have test sets created under these things, we'll have to give this unique ID from here and map it to the parent field in there. So I have already synced the value, and if you see in here, so Tosca is mostly for automation tests. So we'll have all manual cases and everything written on the Jira side, on the Xray side. We'll be able to map it with the automation test cases. So this is the, here if you see, with the automation that I've created, the test sets. So the test set in Xray will flow in as a test case folder. So that's been created here. The next automation for me is the test. So any test that you create in Xray will flow in under the folder as a test case. And then you will have the plans. Okay. In the execution list, we will see all the other automations that's been flowing through. Let me show you that also. So this is a test plan that I created or from Xray to Tosca, and the test plans flows in here. And under the test plan, you can have executions, and under the executions, the test runs will be flown in. So if I open up Jira, so this is how we create it. If Xray is installed, you will see in the Xray tab in here, and you will be able to go ahead here and create all your test and test cases, and all that you need to flow between two systems. You can create it over here. Now, moving on. So these are all like more of explaining like how each of the automations are created. As said in Tosca, we'll have to map the parent ID, and then using the translate record ID, you can do the parent-child relationship. Only difference, as I said, was on the test run. So when you're using a test run, then you will have to create the filter because the execution, as said, the test run doesn't have a last modified timestamp because there is an API restrictions. We don't want it to pull all the test execution list from the application which will for no reason we'll be processing all the records. So to process only the required test run records, you'll have to create that filter, add the filter in your automations, and then do the synchronization. It'll continue to move in the test runs. The test runs will run into the execution entries. Basically, this is getting aligned with our test management solutions that we are focusing on. We have more requirements that is coming up in Tosca for all the other features that we have been asked for. And Xray, as said, it's only on the on-prem. We validated against the 7.14 version on all our supported Jira versions. There are other versions of Xray. There is no API changes, so it should work on any of the Xray versions that's available in the market. Thank you.